Growing up in Pennsylvania, the guest had to find ways to pass the long winters, so she started writing letters to actors and actresses, collecting autographs along the way. But her most incredible autograph came from an unexpected source, her English pen pal, Puddy. Puddy's brother was in a Liverpool band and had connections to the Beatles. She once promised that if she ever met them, she'd try to get an autograph. And one day, she did. The package that arrived wasn't just any signed memorabilia, it was a Beatles program adorned with autographs. The appraiser, who often evaluates Beatles memorabilia, examined it carefully and even consulted other experts.
When I looked at this, I looked at it carefully and consulted with a couple of the other appraisers on the show, and we all concurred that these were 100% authentic signatures.
And it wasn't just one set of autographs. There were three. John, Paul, George, and Ringo had all signed the front, the inside, and the back. Paul even signed his first name on one. And George had added a personal touch with to Puddy, George Harrison. The appraiser was stunned, saying this might be the only piece out there signed 3 times by all 4 Beatles. Despite some creases and a bit of tape, the program was still an incredible find. A conservative estimate puts its value at
Estimate at auction would be $15,000.
The guest hadn't spoken to Puddy in years, but after hearing the appraisal, she couldn't help but reflect on the generosity of her old pen pal. The electric guitar has shaped American popular music for decades, and no company has had a more profound influence on its evolution than Rickenbacker. At Rickenbacker's headquarters, a private museum houses some of the most sought-after guitars ever made, and today we get a glimpse into their legacy. One of the first and most intriguing pieces on display is the frying pan, the very first solid-body electric guitar, created in 1931 by Adolf Rickenbacker and George Beauchamp.
To check out some examples from this California company's private museum. There are about 200 instruments in this room, but it all starts when we go right back to the beginning with this odd-shaped, banjo-looking instrument called the frying pan.
At the time, guitarists were struggling to be heard over louder instruments like trumpets and drums. So the duo created a guitar with an electromagnetic pickup to amplify the sound.
There are still lap steel players that swear by them and consider them to have the best tone. All these years later, that's what they want.
Primarily used for Hawaiian music as a lap steel, it represented a groundbreaking shift in the way electric guitars could be played and heard. Despite its age, a well-preserved frying pan can fetch a good value.
One in really good condition would sell from between $3,000 and $3,500 in a retail shop.
Fast forward to the mid-1960s, and Rickenbacker continued to innovate with the 36012, a guitar that would forever change the sound of rock music. George Harrison of the Beatles famously played the Rickenbacker 36012 during the filming of A Hard Day's Night, and its jangly tone quickly became one of the most recognizable sounds in rock history. The guitar's signature sound influenced some of the biggest names in music, including Pete Townshend of The Who and Roger McGuinn of the Byrds. A vintage 1965 model today is of a significant value.
Well, it's going to take more than $20,000 if you're buying one in a vintage guitar retail shop.
Rickenbacker's legacy is undeniable, with their instruments continuing to shape the sound of modern rock and roll. A woman brought in her Beatles dolls, a treasured gift from her grandmother. The appraiser inquired when her grandmother had purchased them, and the guest guessed it was around 1964 or 1965. Upon closer inspection, the appraiser noticed the original price tags. Each doll had been bought from Woolworths, a popular retail chain known for offering affordable goods in the 1960s, at $1.99 each. He remarked on the remarkable condition of the dolls.
They're in very good condition, which is surprising because they've got detachable instruments, and quite often people would remove them.
Particularly since many of these items, due to detachable instruments, often ended up with missing parts. He also praised the fact that she had the complete set of 4, which was rare because fans typically preferred individual Beatles figures. With that, the appraiser shared that dolls without their boxes and in fair condition would generally fetch around $400 to $600 at auction.
You'd probably be looking at about $400 to $600 at auction.
Okay.
However, since these dolls still had their original boxes, included all the instruments and were in excellent condition, the auction price went up.
You're probably looking at between $1,000 and $1,500 at auction.
Okay.
A man came forward with the story of how he came to own a rare Beatles program. It was a gift from his aunt, who had attended a Beatles concert in 1964. She had forgotten about the memorabilia until she was moving and discovered it tucked away in a drawer. The appraiser, an expert in Beatles memorabilia, examined the program closely. It represented a historic Carnegie Hall performance, one of 2 shows the Beatles played that night during their first visit to America. This was the same trip that included their iconic appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show, which introduced them to millions of American fans. Before the Carnegie Hall performance, they had been in Washington, D.C. and took a train back to New York.
Took a train back to New York, and because it was President's Day, a lot of people are off. According to the records, over 10,000 people met them at Penn Station as they got off the train.
The appraiser pointed out that the tickets for the show were extremely limited, with only 5,800 people attending across both performances. Just a year later, the Beatles returned to the U.S. for their famous Shea Stadium concert, which drew a record-breaking crowd of 55,000 fans. Beatles collectors, he explained, highly value ticket stubs and other concert-related memorabilia. As a complete set, they estimated the value to be.
If I was going to place this as a set up at auction, I would estimate it somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000.
A ukulele fan had the chance of a lifetime when George Harrison, the famous Beatle, visited his home. It all started when a friend of George's passed by the fan's booth at a music trade show and mentioned that George would love to see his ukulele collection. At first, the fan thought it was just a joke. After all, how many people can say they had a Beatle come over? But just a few days later, the doorbell rang, and in walked George Harrison.
And we spent the next 3 hours just playing ukes together. It was an extraordinary time. There we were singing All My Loving with George, all playing ukuleles, and it was a moment to never be forgotten.
Before leaving, the fan had the great idea to ask George to write something about his love for the ukulele. George happily agreed and wrote a personal note. He described ukulele players as crackers, which is a fun British way of saying they're a bit crazy. He even signed it with his Hawaiian name, George Keoki Harrison, a nickname from his love for Hawaii and gardening. The fan had the letter published in his ukulele songbook, but what made it even more special was a little drawing of a pig George added at the bottom.
That's right. For some reason, my wife, who was the art director on this book, for some reason she chose not to put the pig in. Maybe it just didn't fit.
But the appraiser loved the pig doodle, saying it made the letter even more charming. With George Harrison's personal touch, this letter is not just a cool piece of memorabilia. It's a memory of a rare, special moment. The appraiser valued the letter generously.
I would put an estimate at auction of $5,000 to $7,000 on this letter.
Wow.
I would insure it for no less than $10,000.
Wow.
It's a one-of-a-kind reminder of George Harrison's love for ukuleles and his unforgettable personality. In 1965, a unique encounter took place at Metropolitan Stadium in Minnesota. A staff member working in the kitchen had the unexpected chance to serve dinner to the Beatles just before their performance. Surprised by how much smaller and paler the band members were in person, the staff member knew they were big celebrities, but had no idea how enormous their fame would become. Incredibly, the staff member had more than just a memory.
You have a newspaper clipping here that shows them in the locker room.
The image featured Ray Crump, the team's equipment manager at the time. Along with the clipping, the staff member had collected autographs from the band members themselves. Walking around the locker room, he had the chance to ask for signatures from Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. Although Paul McCartney declined a photo, the staff member recalled a moment where he was casually chatting with Ringo and another band member as they played a board game. The autographs were clearly done in 1965, with each one distinct and legible, confirming their authenticity. The appraiser, recognizing the value of such a rare set, estimated the set's value.
Would be between $5,000 and $6,000 for the set.
Yes.
Yeah.
This remarkable wooden chair has been passed down through the guest family for generations.
Well, the story goes, it was made by an Indian chieftain, and it was given to our family who came over from Scotland.
According to family lore, it was crafted by a Native American chieftain and gifted to the guest's ancestors, who had recently immigrated from Scotland. The guest even has photographic evidence dating back 5 generations, showing various family members, including themselves, being rocked in this very chair.
Were you rocked in it?
Yes, my daughters were rocked in it as well.
Who is this handsome character?
This is my grandfather.
A grand photograph of the guest's grandfather accompanies a letter he wrote about the history of this cherished heirloom. The letter is filled with affection and nostalgia, highlighting a family tradition where each child was rocked in the chair, a symbol of warmth and continuity.
Also, she would tell me that when my feet would touch the floor, she wouldn't rock me anymore. And secretly, I hoped that my feet never touched the floor. Very, very sweet.
To determine the chair's true age, the appraiser explains that while the family history goes back 5 generations, this might only take us as far back as the 19th century. The appraiser also points out the bolts and nuts used to attach the rocker to the front legs, indicating modern technology, which suggests the chair was made in a more recent period. Named the Old Hickory Rocker, the chair is crafted from one of the strongest domestic hardwoods, hickory.
Now, there was a North Carolinian who moved to Indiana, which I think is where part of your family's from, and he started a company called the Old Hickory Chair Company in the 1890s.
Its design perfectly aligns with the work of the Old Hickory Chair Company, established in 1899 in Martinsville, Indiana. The company was renowned for producing Adirondack-style seating, much like this beautiful piece. Given that the guest's grandfather was born in the early 20th century, around the time the Old Hickory Chair Company was producing many of these chairs, the timeline fits well. With its robust construction, rich family provenance, and connection to a renowned American furniture maker, this piece would sell at an auction for...
It's probably at auction, I would estimate it at $1,000 to $2,000.
Wow. I'm really surprised, actually, that it's not older.
Brought in is a poster by Jean Carlu, a famous French graphic designer in the 1930s and 1940s. He was a member of a family of architects. His brother Jacques Carlu, for example, designed the Palais des Chaillot in Paris. But there was an aspect to him that was not obvious to people, which is that he had one arm.
But there was one very interesting fact about him that a lot of people don't know. He only had one arm.
One arm.
And he was working in France on this big exhibition.
He made posters during World War II, and this is an example of such posters. In 1939, he went to work in New York at the French Pavilion during the New York World Fair. Whilst in New York, the war broke out, so he ended up staying in New York and did some work in America. The fair went on concurrently with the Spanish-German War, so there was political tension between the Germans and the Russians.
Also, it was very politically charged because the Germans and the Russians each had a pavilion, so politically there was a lot of tension.
On the poster is the Russian flag on one side and the Spanish flag on the other end, with negative connotations. As for the size, this is the largest of 3 different sizes, and the poster exists in different languages. Due to the negative connotations, an auction estimate for this poster would be...
But at auction, I would estimate the value of the poster at between $2,500 and $3,500.
Cool.
The first distinctive feature you'll notice about this desk is its remarkably large size. It's a perfect example of vernacular furniture made by Americans. Vernacular furniture refers to the everyday furniture of ordinary people in a region. Although this desk is not the most aesthetically pleasing, it still showcases a great deal of craftsmanship. The desk is made from yellow pine wood, which is not typically used for desks. Its origins can be traced to the south, specifically to the region of Texas. Vernacular furniture is used in everyday life and thus requires special skills to craft. This desk's design follows a specific late 19th century classical style called pillar and scroll.
Is really sort of an extension of late classical design in the 19th century. There was a style in the 1840s called pillar and scroll design.
Interestingly, the desk also features an elaborate mechanism, making it even more special. Since it's a classic Texas design piece, it would fetch an auction price of...
Might push this up to $2,000 to $2,500.
Wow, my humble desk.
This hand-carved walking stick is a treasured family heirloom passed down through generations. It was commissioned by a tramp passing through town who was looking for work. The family law suggests it was purchased for a mere 25 cents, a sum that wouldn't even cover the cost of the wood. The cane is believed to have been made by a Union veteran, possibly to commemorate the Battle of Gettysburg. What makes this walking stick unique is it is adorned with intricate carvings symbolizing aspects of the Civil War, including a cannon, Abraham Lincoln's name, and insignia representing Union units from the Battle of Gettysburg. With carvings of notable figures like General Meade and Robert E. Lee, along with Pickett's name, it's a remarkable piece of history, valued between $3,000 to $5,000.
The value on this is $3,000 to $5,000.
Wow, that'll make my son very happy.
The guest came to the show with a Rolex Prince wristwatch that he said belonged to his uncle who had died. Although he did not inherit it from his uncle, he stumbled upon it in his mother's house, who had kept it after the death of his uncle. The Rolex watch has Eaton written on the face, which indicates that his uncle got it from the Eaton family when he was their employee at one of their stores. The watch was made in very little variation and was a high-grade 18-jeweled movement with an engraved Rolex & Company sign, indicating that the particular model was made in 1930 and was named Rolex Prince. The watch is worth between $5,000 to $6,000 in today's market.
This watch is worth between $5,000 and $6,000.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Oh my God.
A rocking chair was brought in by the guest, who had acquired it in Pennsylvania about 5 years ago. The fascinating piece was adorned with intricate figures. The appraiser noted the signature on the chair, depicting it as the work of Salvator Pagano from Naples in 1884. The guest claimed it was from P.T. Barnum's estate. The chair featured characters from the Italian theatre, including Pierrot, Harlequin, and a mischievous monkey, representing the fantasy furniture movement in 19th century Italy. How much would the item be valued?
I would say that this is probably a $15,000 chair. I mean, it's really pretty fantastic.
These are rare memorabilia from the guest's great-grandfather, John Edward, who served as an aviator during World War I between 1914 and 1918. These items were taken from the aircraft he flew during the war, marking his contributions to military aviation history.
I was fortunate enough to meet John's son 2 years ago. The connection there was I'm on 6th Squadron at the moment, flying Typhoons from Royal Air Force Lottymouth.
One piece of memorabilia includes a medal awarded to John for his involvement in one of the earliest bombing missions of WWII.
He went to war again, not flying on active service, but he was an Air Commodore looking after the training of air cadets.
In a daring maneuver, he reportedly turned off the engine at 30 feet and glided in to ensure precision, a feat that highlighted his exceptional skill and bravery. John had a deep interest in a military career, joining the Royal Navy in 1908.
It's very poignant. He had a very interesting military career.
Later, his fascination with aviation led him to switch paths, becoming a founding member of a pioneering air squadron. His decision to join the Royal Flying Corps, a precursor to the Royal Air Force, or RAF, cemented his place in the early history of military aviation. Among the collection is a military cross for flying, awarded for his achievements during the first bombing raid. Another highlight is a 1914 star, an uncommon medal given to personnel who served on the front lines at the outbreak of the war. The memorabilia also has various medals from World War II, demonstrating John's continued involvement in military affairs across both world wars. Each piece reflects a chapter of his distinguished service and legacy. If they were to come up for auction, their extraordinary provenance, connection to early aviation, and the bravery they represent would undoubtedly command a substantial price of.
You'd be looking at somewhere between £8,000 and £10,000. So they really are very nice.
We're uncovering a hidden gem today, a rare treasure from the vibrant port city of Liverpool. This is an English pottery piece known as a Liverpool jug, made around the 1800s. The guest inherited it from her father, who found it at a barn sale.
My father, he got it at a barn sale, and he just paid a couple dollars for it.
This earthenware jug showcases neoclassical design elements, reflecting the artistic trends of that era. The craftsmanship highlights the beautiful skill of Liverpool potters from the 18th century. Historical jugs like this are rare and provide valuable insights into Liverpool's rich cultural heritage.
Traditionally, they would be known as Liverpool jugs. Certainly the most valuable ones are the American historical subjects.
With intricate designs and durable construction, this jug reflects the expertise of those artisans. Interestingly, similar jugs are prized treasures in institutions like the Liverpool Museum. Despite being from the 18th century, it shows no damage and is in very good condition. This stoneware Liverpool jug could bring a significant price at auction.
At a good auction, this will bring easily in the range of $5,000 to $7,000.
That's wonderful.
What we have on display today is a piece of jewelry brought into the show by a guest. The guest acquired the piece from her late aunt as part of an inheritance.
I received it as part of an inheritance from an aunt who was the wife of a partner of Andrew Carnegie in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Adorning this beautiful jewelry is a step-cut jade in the center, flanked by diamonds on either side. It also features fluted rock crystal and a stunning ascent of coral surrounding it. Upon closer inspection, we discover some numbers inscribed underneath the rims, indicating that it was made in the 1920s by Van Cleef & Arpels. Van Cleef & Arpels is a French jewelry company founded in 1896, although we can tell from the characteristics of the centerpiece that it was made during the Art Deco period. The gold rim surrounding it was added much later.
And then on the other side, made in France. Who would have made this? So I was hoping for a big name. And you know what? I got a great name. Van Cleef & Arpels.
Originally, this piece was designed as a dress clip, but over time it lost its mechanism. Among collectors, Van Cleef & Arpels jewelry is highly sought after, and this particular piece, though no longer in its original form, is still highly collectible. We can expect this vintage dress clip, given its rich qualities and the reputation of its maker, to sell for.
I would say if you had to go to public auction, we'd estimate it $5,000 to $7,000.
Wow,
which is
that's
great.
Extraordinary.
Have you ever seen a doll that epitomizes 19th century French luxury? On today's show, we have an antique doll made in the late 1880s by the French doll company Bourgeoisie et Compagnie. This doll was inherited by our guest from her grandmother, who purchased it in 1947.
You know, it's a brew. It's a very, very beautiful brew, made in France in the late 1880s. She has the closed mouth, as you see.
Several characteristics make this doll highly desirable, such as its closed mouth, brown paperweight eyes, and its original wig. Additionally, the doll retains its original clothes and shoes. Its face has an expressive, childlike look, with rounded cheeks and large almond-shaped glass eyes. Furthermore, the doll features wooden lower legs, a bisque head, bisque shoulder plates with swivels, and pierced ears. This brew doll is dressed in luxurious, detailed outfits, reflecting the height of French fashion in the late 19th century. However, the doll's two arms have been replaced, which could potentially affect its value at auction.
Well, the bad part is she's got something replaced on her. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's her arms.
Oh, all right.
Her arms are actually German bisque arms.
Even with the replaced arms, this doll remains highly valuable, and at auction, it would easily be worth.
So, with the replaced arms, her value on today's market at a doll show or a good auction would be around $15,000.
Wow.
A serving spoon made by Paul Revere is on display today. Paul Revere, born in 1734 in Boston, Massachusetts, apprenticed as a smith under his father. He worked as a silversmith leading up to the Revolutionary War and was best known for his iconic midnight ride in April 1775.
He was a silversmith leading up to the Revolutionary War and is most iconically known for his great midnight ride in April of 1775.
The guest's husband purchased this spoon years ago in Baltimore. This hand-wrought spoon features a tapered handle and is constructed from coin silver. It is a large tablespoon, ideal for serving. The spoon bears a mark reading Revere, which confirms its attribution to Paul Revere Jr. This piece matches the style and craftsmanship of work he likely completed after returning from the war, around 1780 to 1790.
Likely circa 1780 to 1790, somewhere in there. He continued acting as a smith until his death in 1818.
On the back of the spoon there is a monogram, a common design at the time. This monogram may be linked to the original owner, further increasing the spoon's value. The spoon is quite rare, and its size is exceptional, measuring nearly 9 inches with a generously sized bowl. Given its provenance, this piece would likely command a conservative price of.
This spoon would likely garner $8,000 to $10,000.
Featured at this time is a piece of furniture belonging to this guest's grandmother, which was passed down from her late aunt.
It passed to my aunt. When my aunt died, I was allowed to choose one thing that was special, and I chose this.
This furniture piece is popularly known as a Rhode Island highboy base.
It is a piece of 18th century furniture.
Okay.
And it's from Rhode Island.
A Rhode Island highboy base is a distinctive feature of a specific style of American colonial furniture, particularly from the Rhode Island region. The legs of this piece are unique, as they are usually small and tender, typically measuring 6 to 8 inches high with a pointed knee.
If we look at the legs on this piece, there is this arras knee, that's pointy knee, and also that pointed slipper foot.
In Rhode Island, such legs are typically separated from the main body of the wood, unlike the common practice among other makers. Interestingly, this particular piece of furniture is a base for a highboy, although it is easy to confuse it with other styles. It is strongly believed that this piece has been modified to stand independently from its original top section, as indicated by the noticeable adjustments on the surface. The additional adjustments and modifications to this base were made in the 19th century to suit the owner's preferences. This magnificent highboy base is painted black and features a design of gold stripes attached to it. Highboy bases like this were used in various types of furniture, including chests, cabinets, and dressers. Considering the rare quality of a piece from Rhode Island, this furniture will command a value of
between the range of $2,000 and $4,000.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. That's great, but it's interesting. I never would have expected that it would have had a
Portraits not only capture a person's likeness, but also reveal their personality and emotions. During an appraisal, an appraiser discussed a painting the guest had for 20 years. The guest had purchased the painting for $100 at a local auction from an estate sale. The appraiser identified the artist as Karl Reichert, an Austrian known for painting animals, especially dogs.
Reichert has two really distinct kinds of paintings. One type is the anecdotal painting.
He explained that Reichert created two types of paintings: humorous stories about animals and serious portraits of purebred dogs. The painting the guest owned depicted a Great Dane, focusing on its face and blue eyes. The appraiser noted that the dog's collar was a beautiful example of 19th century style.
But the thing that I really like about this painting is the collar. This is a great illustration of a 19th century dog collar,
highlighting the painting's beauty and importance. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
a painting like this by Reichert, I'd probably put an estimate of about $4,000 to $6,000 on it.
The guest brought a collection of items belonging to his wife's grandfather, William D. Merritt, who played football for the University of North Carolina, UNC, from 1892 to 1895. The items included an old football, a football uniform, and a team photograph. The appraiser highlighted William Merritt's football career at UNC, noting that the team had started in 1888 and was already competitive by the time Merritt played.
In the back row, on the right side, that would be your wife's grandfather.
That's Mr. William Merritt right there.
William D. Merritt. The North Carolina football program, of course.
Examining the items, the appraiser pointed out the historical significance of the collection. The team photograph included Merritt, and one player was seen wearing an early piece of facial protection, a leather nose guard. The football was described as a melon ball, or rugby-style ball, which had a bladder inside that often deflated by the end of a game. The uniform, featuring a bib front inspired by firemen's uniforms, was especially rare. The photograph was taken by Charles Milton Bell, a well-known American photographer, which added to its value. The collection was considered unique and valuable as an archive and was appraised at.
You're going to want to insure this group for $25,000.
Wow.
The guest brought an item that had been in their family for many years. The item was identified as a Japanese flower vase designed to hold a single flower. It dated back to the late 19th century, specifically from the Meiji period, which lasted from 1868 to 1912. The vase was estimated to have been made around 1890 and was crafted from an alloy called shibuichi.
This material is called shibuichi, which in Japanese means 25%.
The combination created a grey appearance, except in the middle, where there was a decorative cloisonné, a technique in which gold wire separates different sections of enamel. Shibuichi pottery was known for its unique appearance and often featured nature-inspired motifs. Additionally, the piece was signed Katsuhiro, which the appraiser believed referred to Suzuki Katsuhiro. The appraiser noted that the vase had some condition issues which affected its overall price. Without the damage, the appraiser speculated the vase could fetch $40,000 to $50,000 at auction. However, in its current condition, the value was estimated to be,
I would say maybe conservatively $25,000 to $35,000.
Holy cow.
The guest brought a collection of paintings by the North Carolina folk artist Ruth Russell Williams. The guest had become friends with Ruth in the 1990s and had acquired the paintings directly from her. The appraiser highlighted details about Ruth, whose paintings often reflected her life experiences.
Ruth also had a hobby as an artist. These are a series of paintings that she actually kind of developed for me.
The pieces in the guest collection were oil on canvas and featured vibrant colors. They primarily depicted women at various stages of life, from young girls to sophisticated women. These figures were often surrounded by nature, particularly flowers, which further emphasized the connection between the artist and traditional Southern living. One of the paintings included a special inscription on the back that read, "May God bless you, Ruth Russell Williams." The appraiser explained that Ruth had gained both local and national attention for her art. The paintings in the guest collection dated from the late 1980s and early 1990s. In terms of value, the guest revealed that they had paid no more than $600 for the entire collection. Considering the personal and artistic significance of the collection, the value estimated was significantly higher.
I would estimate the small piece at probably $2,000 to $3,000. The centerpiece I would estimate at $3,000 to $4,000, and love this. And I would estimate this at between $4,000 and $6,000.
Okay.
This climbing axe originally belonged to the guest's great-grandfather, Harry Carstens, who was part of the first expedition to ascend Denali.
My great-grandfather is Harry Carstens. He climbed in 1913. He was working on a ranch in Billings, Montana, when a guy came into town talking about gold. Came to the gold rush in 1897.
In 1913, when the mountain was known as Mount McKinley, Harry and his team made history by reaching its summit.
This is an amazing object. In 1913, the name of the mountain was Mount McKinley at the time.
Yes. Some of the guys I climbed with, we actually spoke at Cogna, the naming authority that deals with names.
Denali is the tallest mountain in North America, standing at an impressive remeasured height of 20,310 feet.
Denali is one of the many, many native names.
It's the tallest mountain in North America.
It is the tallest mountain in North America. It was just remeasured at 20,310 feet.
The 1913 expedition was significant, not only for its achievement, but also for the challenges faced by the climbers, including treacherous weather conditions and difficult terrain. Harry Carstens led a team of only 4 climbers, making their successful ascent a remarkable feat of endurance and skill. While 3 of the original climbers are no longer living, this climbing axe remains a testament to their incredible journey. Mountaineering has become a niche category for highly specialized collectors, and artifacts from significant climbs are exceptionally rare. The materials used in the construction of this axe, specifically designed for climbing, are not commonly found, and are often traded privately, if at all.
The problem is that we don't see a lot of materials.
That's right.
It stays in the family,
yes, it
as
does.
it has with yours.
This climbing axe was used in a milestone event, marking the first successful climb to the summit of Denali, which has inspired countless climbers since. If this piece were to come up for auction or for insurance purposes, its provenance and historical significance would likely command a substantial price of.
So at retail, for insurance purposes, $20,000.
Oh. Oh, no, it's a little bit too much.
Here is an ink-on-paper painting that, at first glance, one can't help but notice the skillfulness of its creator. The flow of ink across the surface creates a natural texture, almost like a dance between control and unpredictability. This intriguing painting was created by Chen Wenci in 1981. Chen Wenci was a Chinese-born Singaporean artist known for his avant-garde Chinese paintings. The guest inherited this painting from his late father, who received it directly from Chen Wenci himself.
It belonged to my late father, who travelled to Singapore regularly.
The painting features a depiction of 3 birds resting on the branch of a bamboo tree. In the lower right corner of the artwork, we can see the artist's signature, which further helps to authenticate it. What makes this painting even more fascinating is that it was executed in the traditional style of Chinese calligraphy. Furthermore, not only did the artist employ ancient Chinese techniques, but he also used his fingers to create some parts of the painting.
But what's really key with Chen Wenci is that not only did he use a calligraphic brush, but he also used his finger.
It is also worth noting that the guest has done a remarkable job of preserving this piece over the years, as evidenced by its pristine condition. At the time this painting was created, Xi was at the peak of his career, and given its current physical state, this item would easily be worth.
We'd probably put an estimate in the region of £2,000 to £3,000.
We have here a set of photographs taken by the American photographer Carlton Watkins. Watkins was one of the premier photographers of the American West. His focus was mainly on landscape photography and the Yosemite Valley. This set of photographs follows the subject matter of Yosemite and is quite memorable. Yosemite Valley is home to many famous cliffs and waterfalls. The pictures taken here are from the 1870s and are still in great condition. Watkins was also famous for taking photographs of other places, including the Columbia River. He used a distinct type of camera called a mammoth camera. These photos are special because they feature Carlton himself, which is rare. As a representation of Carlton's works, these photographs would sell for
blade.
A stunning Art Deco cloud chair has captured attention, known for its beautiful design and classic shape. Elegantly veneered in walnut, the chair boasts a striking bare wood back, embodying the essence of Art Deco style. Discovered online by a student upholsterer, this chair sparked an immediate affection. Research reveals its echoes of Morris Epstein's late 1930s designs, typically in leather, raising questions about authenticity. In 1929, a transformative shift occurred at Epstein's company when his sons, Harry and Lou, took the reins, steering it into a new era. Inspired by the 1925 Paris exhibition, Epstein's firm crafted a distinctive British take on Art Deco with nationalistic flair.
Now, they were hugely inspired by the 1925 Paris exhibition.
This chair is believed to be a remnant of what was once a magnificent Art Deco dining suite.
Is that they are considered the epitome of the British interpretation of Art Deco.
Its solid timber back and sweeping design hint at its authentic roots in Epstein's collection. This stunning Art Deco cloud chair is estimated to be worth around
anything up to £400.
An exquisite Persian jacket, a stunning piece of craftsmanship, showcases the beauty of traditional attire. Crafted from luxurious silk velvet, this late 18th century garment hails from the Qajar dynasty. It showcases intricate hand-embroidered bullion thread, highlighting the exceptional craftsmanship of the era. Elegantly trimmed with silkwork and lively fringe detail, the jacket showcases exquisite craftsmanship. Its fantastic condition stands as a testament to its enduring beauty. Passed down through generations, it's a cherished heirloom from the great-great-grandmother.
This has been in my family as far back as I remember. Certainly it goes to my great-great-grandmother.
Worn over a loose shirt and short skirt with leggings, it reflects classic feminine style. A jacket of this exquisite quality and rich history often fetches an auction estimate of
have a pre-sale estimate of around £300 to £400.
I see.
This pocket watch is one of the most unique ones you would see today. It's called a dollar watch, and it literally sold for $1. This particular watch is special because it commemorated the 1929 trip of the Graf Zeppelin. The Graf Zeppelin was a German airship that flew from 1928 to 1937. After its creation, it offered the first commercial transatlantic passenger flight service. It's likely that this dollar watch was produced between 1928 and 1937. The idea of the dollar watch is attributed to an American businessman named Robert Hawley Ingersoll. The goal of the production was to mass-produce the first inexpensive pocket watch of its time.
Right, so let's turn the watch around and show everybody that. It's what's known in the business as a dollar watch. It literally cost $1.
Hence, that's why the watch sold for $1 and was affordable at the time.
They're good with it. I tell them it's $1 then, and it's usually about $1 now.
$1 now.
I got good news for you.
Nevertheless, nowadays the watch is worth much more, and at auction it would attract.
We're talking $1,200 to $1,500.
Wow.
This exquisite piece of jewelry was inherited by the guest from her grandmother, accompanied by a photograph of her grandmother and grandfather. Her grandmother, a model in New York during the early 20th century, wore this ring with elegance and pride.
And this was probably one of the most beautiful things that she left me.
And she was a model in New York?
The ring is crafted by Tiffany & Co., with the brand's hallmark stamped on the inner band, affirming its authenticity. Furthermore, the centerpiece is a rare Ceylon star sapphire, a gem that originates from what is now Sri Lanka, previously known as Ceylon. Historically, such large and pristine sapphires were more abundant, but stones of this size are increasingly rare today. This striking blue stone is approximately 25 carats, making it a standout example of the craftsmanship of its era. In the 1920s, men often wore star sapphire rings as pinky rings, but Tiffany & Co. responded to women's envy by designing versions specifically for them, incorporating platinum and diamonds into their creations.
And when you shine a light on it, when the sunlight hits it, you get a beautiful star. And since it is Tiffany,
the design reflects subtle luxury, with diamonds discreetly placed beneath the ring, hidden from immediate view. Also, the star sapphire is renowned for its chatoyancy, a reflective optical phenomenon that creates a captivating six-pointed star under direct light.
star sapphires have a chatoyance that becomes a six-pointed star. And how clear that star is, it makes the ring more valuable.
This effect adds to the stone's allure and exclusivity. Though similar rings are occasionally produced today, the hidden diamond detailing seen in earlier designs is no longer common. Given the rarity, craftsmanship, and provenance of this piece, in an auction, a ring like this could fetch a significant price of.
A ring like that in today's market could easily be sold for somewhere in retail and $25,000 to $35,000.
Oh, that's wonderful.
A remarkable collection of pottery and porcelain showcases the artistic evolution of the Reed family, spanning from around 1820 to 1925.
How the styles of pottery and porcelain have changed from about 1820 to about 1925.
A stunning plate by George Wallace Croft Reed heralds the start of the family's artistic legacy. George's son, Frederick Alfred Reed, also contributed significantly to the family's pottery tradition. Though not directly his, the plate reflects Frederick's artistic legacy shaped by his work at iconic factories like Minton and Wedgwood. This piece highlights the technique of vibrant paste-on-paste porcelain decoration. His children continued the artistic lineage, with Charlotte Reed emerging as a key figure. Initially working with her father, she later led the tube liners, creating vividly colored pieces with intricate cake piping designs.
Designed
Yes,
and
he did.
made them, took inspiration from pictures that he'd seen in galleries.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
The designs were just something the world had never seen.
Frederick Hurton-Reed, a teenage talent of the arts and crafts movement, designed distinctive plates that highlighted his early genius. A pair of his 1896 plates shines with rarity and artistry, capturing the eyes of discerning collectors. The collective value of the Reed family's pottery and porcelain collection is estimated to be approximately...
If these were to come up at auction, I'd have to pay £5,000 for the pair.
Wow. Wow.
These French porcelain vases this guest brought to the show exude everything royalty and beauty. The porcelain vase was made around 1860 in Limoges, France. Looking closely at this vase, you will see excellent hand-painted flower designs that speak of the craftiness and details that went into the creation of such vases. The demand for this quality and scale is still high in today's market. The value of this pair of vases is estimated at around $10,000.
In an antique shop, for the pair, they would sell for at least $10,000 today.
Right.
A remarkable sculpture by Alexander Calder, crafted from metal and wire, showcases both stability and movement, a harmonious blend of mobile and stable. This piece boasts a balanced base and an elegantly moving upper section.
This is wonderful because you have the base and this amazingly balanced piece. Maybe you could show us how it's balanced. And that's it? And what is there, a little indentation
Just a
there?
little hole in the...
And it sits right there.
A small indentation adds to its unique character, revealing the artistry and craftsmanship inherent in Calder's work. His signature pressed into the side confirms its authenticity. At 14, a young traveler's European adventure led him to Calder's compound, thanks to a family friend married to the artist's daughter. On his 15th birthday in 1969, Calder gifted the boy this sculpture, likely created during the same time he was observed at work.
What did he say?
He didn't say much. He wasn't a very talkative person, but he was very humorous.
Calder, a titan of 20th century sculpture, transformed modern art with his inventive designs and constructions. This sculpture's provenance is exceptional, with a narrative connecting it directly to Calder's studio. Pending authentication from the Alexander Calder Foundation, its estimated market value ranges between...
This would be $250,000.
Wow. Spectacular.
Yeah.
Passed from her grandmother to her father, she's next in line to inherit it. This 1830 French musical pocket watch highlights elegant craftsmanship and mechanical innovation. A standout feature of this pocket watch is its enamel-painted dial, depicting a detailed port scene with ships, figures, and an American flag. These enamel paintings required skilled artistry to endure the delicate firing process. The French called the intricate back engraving guilloche, or engine turning.
Notice at the center how it's indented a little bit right there? That is called a bullseye crystal. Can't get those today.
Its inner cover of the watch, called a cuvette in French, served as a dust cover to protect the movement. It features two holes. Two mechanisms power the watch, a smaller barrel for the mainspring and a larger barrel for the musical part. Musical watches were prized for playing a melody when wound, delighting the owner. Echoing the elegance of a bygone era, the appraiser valued the item.
I think this watch would easily bring between $15,000 and $20,000.
Wow, that is quite the shock. It's been in the safety deposit for like 20 years. So wow.
On display at the show is glassware inherited by the guest from her mother's family 30 years ago. This glassware was made by Tiffany & Co. circa the 1920s. The type of glass used in this piece is known as Cypriot glass. Cypriot glass has a shimmering iridescent surface that gives it an antique, weathered appearance. It is distinguished by its irregular, pitted and textured surface, clearly visible on the vase. Cypriot glass was designed to emulate the corroded look of ancient glass found at archaeological sites.
What it's meant to replicate is how the excavated Roman glass looked when it was discovered. Usually what happened over the time that it was buried, the chemicals in the minerals and moisture in the dirt or the sand would react with the surface of glass. It would create something that looked just like this.
Creating this glass vase involves a somewhat complex technique that requires specialized skill. Upon examining the bottom of the vase, we can see the maker's mark along with numbers and letters indicating the year it was made.
This has a suffix letter P, which indicates that the piece was made between 1926 and 1929.
For glassware approximately a century old, its current physical condition is remarkable. Tiffany glassware is highly sought after by collectors, and in this condition, this piece could easily command
Something like this would be $25,000 in a retail store.
Oh, Lord. Maybe I better insure it.
While helping a friend clean up an attic, this guest discovered this piece and immediately fell in love with it.
I had a friend who I was helping clean out her attic, and we found it. I fell in love with it and ended up purchasing it from her.
As a silver collector with a family history of collecting silver pieces for generations, the guest was drawn to this find. The item presented is a sterling silver presentation punch bowl. Crafted in Philadelphia in 1904, the bowl features an intricate engraving of a yacht on its front, adding to its aesthetic and historical appeal. The appraiser identifies this design as typical of bowls gifted to retiring Commodores of the Philadelphia Yacht Club.
And it's a presentation punch bowl with an engraved yacht on the front of it. It was given to a Commodore upon his retirement from being a Commodore of the Philadelphia Yacht Club.
Engraved on the bowl is the yacht of the retired Commodore, named Geraldo, displayed within an ornate cartouche surrounded by floral designs. Accompanying the bowl is a silver ladle, originally crafted by Dominic and Half in New York. The appraiser believes that Caldwell likely acquired the ladle and then decorated it to complement the punch bowl's design. The ladle showcases the same decorative motif as the bowl, including a striking rope pattern along its edge, which matches the rim of the punch bowl. This matching rope detail further supports the theory that both pieces were custom designed to form a cohesive set. The bowl stands on a finely constructed circular base, featuring intricate sea monster faces emerging from its bottom edge. The piece was made by the Caldwell family in Philadelphia, who were known as the major fine jewelry institution of Philadelphia in the 19th century. On the back of this piece is an inscription showing the piece was dedicated to Commodore Abraham L. English by the Philadelphia Yacht Club in 1904. Above the dedication are his initials written in solid gold, which add great value to this piece. Currently in rather poor condition, this piece would benefit greatly from a thorough cleaning, which would enhance its value, potentially worth.
To be offered in a good auction house, it would probably be sold for around $8,000 to $12,000.
Wow, okay. It's more than I expected for sure.
A guest brought in a family heirloom doll named Hunzi Czech, which her great-grandmother had brought over from Czechoslovakia. It was passed down to her father, who then gave it to them. The expert explained that the doll was actually made in Germany, likely around 1910, and was possibly sold in Czechoslovakia as a souvenir. It was crafted by the Kessner Company, which was known for its quality dolls and used King of the Doll Makers as a marketing slogan. The doll was made from bisque for the head and composition for the body, featuring unique mouth-blown glass googly eyes. The doll retained its original mohair wig, felt hat with silk flowers and embroidered ribbon, adding cultural significance. The appraiser noted that the doll had a cheerful expression with a slight hint of mischief. While the head was in excellent condition, there was some toe damage. Due to its rarity and overall good condition, the retail value was determined to be.
In today's market, his retail value with the damage would be somewhere between $4,500 and $6,500.
Curiosity sparked when an ordinary object was discovered, hinting at a hidden story. In a thrift store in Florence, South Carolina, a drawing caught the guest's attention, priced at just $2.
I thought, well, it's an interesting piece. I think people will talk about it. So for $2, that's worthwhile.
The artwork featured expressive faces that revealed deep emotions. A connection formed, making it a perfect addition to an office space. A name on the back sparked intrigue: Donald Batchelor. Research began to uncover the journey of an artist born in 1956. Once a janitor in a museum, he cleaned floors by night.
So he went to art school, he earned a BFA and an MFA, and he got really interested in German art.
Driven by passion, pursued art studies and joined New York's East Village scene. His neo-expressionist style was bold and playful. The infusion of tea and ink in the piece lent it an exquisite charm, transforming it into a captivating blend of artistry and storytelling. After Batchelor's passing in April 2022, work gained attention. What began as a simple find could fetch as follows.
If we were estimating this work at auction, we would estimate it at $3,000 to $5,000.
Oh, wow. That is quite impressive for a $2 investment, I have to say.
With that said, the visit was deemed successful, leaving anticipation for more. This is an unusual piece of jewelry because it's a perfume bottle. The jewelry is called a scent flask, and it was used by ladies to provide a pleasant scent. It also doubles as an antique piece of jewelry and is quite rare. The body of the piece is crafted using a unique type of enamel work called champleve enamel.
They engrave the design into the surface of the gold,
They fill it with enamel, and then they sand it flush to the gold.
From close observation, we can see that the bottle combines turquoise and Persian turquoise designs. The bottle dates back to between 1850 and 1860, during the peak of exotic jewelry pieces.
When there was a sort of interest in exoticism related to North Africa, Moorish designs, and to Middle Eastern designs especially.
It's also equipped with a dragon-shaped brooch, which was used to attach the bottle to a collar. This kind of perfume flask is a one-of-a-kind piece that is rarely seen. The bottle is also adorned with 18-karat gold, which is interestingly handmade. If this rare piece were to be sold at auction, one could easily expect an estimate of around.
I would estimate at auction, a piece like this would be worth somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000.
What we have are archives from a concentration camp survivor associated with Theresienstadt, also known as Terezin.
And she and her parents were imprisoned there for 3 years.
The artist of these paintings used bags of canvas to create 3 distinct works. Furthermore, these paintings likely represent the artist's vision of the Terezin camp experience. The subject matter as the identity of the artist. Franz Peter Keen make these paintings quite unusual.
Depicting the camp and getting the message out that this was not the model camp, but was actually a tragic situation.
Franz was a well-known Czech artist recognized for his poignant work within the camp at Terezin. However, valuing these pieces in a modern context is challenging because they are considered priceless.
Monuments demands inhumanity to man.
The artist's signature appears in various forms on some of the artworks. Additionally, among the Holocaust archives is documentation related to the guest family, including a pass from a displaced person's camp. There is also a work pass stamped with the appropriate markings. In today's market, given their historical significance, an auction estimate for these pieces would be valued at.
An auction estimate for this would have to be in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $15,000 for the 3 works.
This painting originally belonged to the guest's mother-in-law and was created in 1930. The artist of this painting is Irving Couse. Irving Couse was an American artist and a founding member and first president of the...
He was a very interesting artist. He was one of the founders of the Taos School, and he was the first president of the Taos Society of Artists.
This work was completed after he became a national academician, as evidenced by his signature in the lower left, E.I. Couse, along with the inscription N.A., which stands for National Academician. The National Academy is an honorary organization of artists that elects its members. In addition, this painting is an oil on canvas. It depicts an image of an Indian woman. Furthermore, this piece likely dates from the late 1920s to the early 1930s based on the handling of the work.
It's very competent, but there's some generalized drawing.
However, there are some generalized drawings that exhibit characteristics of a later, more modern painting style. The medium of this painting is oil on board. In terms of retail replacement value, given its significance and provenance, it would fetch around
$75,000.
This is good. Yeah, great. Terrific.
An extraordinary piece of Liverpool pottery appears by the guest on the show. She inherited this fascinating piece in his possession from his father's estate. This pot bears a Herculaneum mark, the name of a well-known Liverpool pottery. On the front, where the heart of Oxford and its iconic spires soar into the sky, its foreground is a deep, vibrant blue, richer than the usual hues of boats and striking bold against the soft pale blues beyond. A remarkable, real three-dimensional scene was made by transfer printing around 1820. Exquisite print on the pottery was first created on paper, and then transferred onto the pot by rubbing the back of the paper. A masterpiece of craftsmanship, intricately designed to embody the spirit of a true meat connoisseur. America was renowned for producing high-quality blue transfer-printed wares. An unmatching piece of this unique pottery item would likely fetch an impressive price at auction.
Today, that's probably going to be worth somewhere in the region of £1,500 to £2,500.
Thank you.
A noteworthy rugby memorabilia was presented to the show. All the items belong to the guest's grandfather, Austin, who played for Warrington in the 1950s. This collection includes shirts, medals, and invitations to dinner receptions. One item still even has a bit of Wembley turf on it, which is a memory. These kits are from a final played in the 1953-54 season, with the first kit used at Wembley. A historic 10,000-strong crowd was a record attendance in Bradford, a rugby milestone. Rugby is said to have originated at Rugby School in Warwickshire, England in 1823. Historical memorabilia are estimated at auction with a high price.
I should think they'd be worth somewhere between £2,000 and £3,000.
Wow.
Thank you so much for bringing him to Roadshow.
Paintings are a form of visual art that have been created throughout history using various techniques and mediums. This painting has been in the house of our guest for many generations. The painting on display was made by an artist known as Grandma Moses. Grandma Moses, also known as Anna Mary Robertson, was a renowned American folk artist, known for her vibrant and charming paintings.
Well, she was an elderly woman. Right. We knew her from about 1940, so this was before she really became famous.
Right.
This painting is an original with a primitive style, characterized by a naive and simple depiction of subjects.
Was the house there when you were there?
Oh, yes. It was the original house where we knew her before she got famous, and they built her a swell home.
Furthermore, the painting is titled The Checkerboard House, one of her best paintings. Beneath the painting, there is an inscription by the artist showing her name. On the back of the painting, there is a label that carries her picture and an inventory number. The label also carries the date when it was painted, September 2nd, 1942. Considering the authentic nature of this painting, it will command a value of...
I put an insurance value of about $60,000 on it.
Within the National Museum of Toys and Miniatures, enchanting miniature villages showcase doll houses from various historical eras and cultures. Recently, Roadshow collaborated with an appraiser to explore these intricate representations of life in miniature. Doll houses have fascinated collectors across cultures for centuries, originating in the 16th and 17th centuries as display cabinets rather than houses. These cabinets open to reveal collections of miniatures that wealthy women acquired from around the world. By the 18th century, doll cabinets crafted by skilled cabinet makers were made specifically for children, often replicating the design of grand manor houses. By the 19th century, dollhouse production was commercialized, making them more widely available. Two examples on display include an American Bliss dollhouse and a German Gottschalk model. Bliss often marked its dollhouses with a small label on the front, and this particular example from the 1890s features original papered floors and walls, with lace curtains likely added later.
You'll see all the original papers on the floor and on the walls, and the lace curtains, which probably aren't original to the house.
In contrast, the Gottschalk house is simpler in design, but includes electrical wiring, a common feature by the late 19th century.
Spindles and doors and everything, but it's still a desirable house. This one is actually electrified, which was very common at the end of the 19th century.
In the retail market, the German Gottschalk house, due to its historical significance and craftsmanship, would likely command a substantial price of
between $2,000 and $2,500.
Meanwhile, the delicate and ornate Bliss dollhouse, given its fragility and detail, could be valued at...
You'd probably have to pay between $5,000 and $6,000 for that on the retail market.
For this segment, our guest brought a vintage gambling wheel to the show.
My grandparents and great-grandparents had a lot of antiques, and it's one of the things that I was fortunate enough to get. My brother told me it might have been something that was used back on the trains for gambling.
This wheel is crafted from high-quality wood and features meticulous hand-painting with bold colors and numbers. The name Kelly MFG Co., the manufacturer of this piece, is displayed prominently on the wheel. It includes a spring-loaded clapper that clicks along small metal dividers as the wheel spins. This clicker not only serves a functional purpose, but also adds excitement to each spin as it gradually slows down and stops. The layout of numbers or symbols on the wheel could vary depending on the specific game it was used for. Judging by the design, we can estimate that it was made circa 1899 to 1900. To ensure stability during a spin, the wheel has a weighted base to prevent tipping. Given its age, most surviving Kelly wheels show signs of wear, but this one on display has been exceptionally well preserved. At auction, a vintage gambling wheel in this mint condition would be valued at...
It should certainly bring in the $1,500 range.
Really?
Well, just give it a spin and...
Yeah.
Humans appreciate any item that serves as a tangible connection to memories and emotions, providing a way to cherish and reflect. Our guest here brought a fob she purchased at an antique store. This piece is a watch fob, a decorative item that was traditionally attached to a pocket watch or chain. Watch fobs were popular in the 19th and 20th centuries and often featured intricate designs.
This is not just a fob, it has a little secret.
This piece is hinged and contains some braided hair inside. A fob containing hair is a type of memorial or mourning jewelry that was popular in the 18th and 19th centuries. Unfortunately, this fob belonged to someone who passed away, which is quite sad. On the piece, the dates 12th May 1864 to 25th March 1866 are inscribed. Interestingly, this amazing memorial piece was purchased for about $200. Considering the story behind this memorial fob, it will command a price of...
I think I would have it in for $800 to $1,200.
Very nice. It was such a sweet thing in there.
He inherited the piece from his mother about 3 years ago. This Kiowa beaded and fringed dress showcases the artistry and cultural traditions of the Kiowa people. It was made from tanned deer, elk, or buffalo hide, abundant to the Kiowa. Tanning required skilled labor to scrape, soak, and smoke the hide into durable fabric.
The hide is deer. It's native tanned. It would have been softened and prepared with the mashed up brains of deer. It would provide both acid and lanolin.
Beadwork represented tribal affiliation and status, with Kiowa women using it to tell stories and mark life events. Fringe added movement and visual interest, serving aesthetic and cultural purposes in ceremonies and dances. For the Kiowa, fringe symbolized connections to the earth and animated the dress during ceremonies. These dresses were made for important occasions like marriages and could be passed down as heirlooms. Rich in cultural significance and history, the appraiser valued the item.
On a retail basis, I would value this at around $7,000. It's highly desirable. I can't tell you how much we enjoy seeing this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
This painting belonged to the guest's great-grandfather, and it actually depicts his ship. The man was Marcus L. Uran, as seen on the flag. Marcus L. Uran was the founder of Ocean Spray Cranberries. According to a 1917 article in the New York Times, the ship, a cargo schooner, was transporting lumber from Naples, Florida to New York when it encountered a series of storms. Most of the crew was lost at sea. The article detailed that only 3 people survived and provided an in-depth account of the event.
I guess Naples, Florida, to New York, and it hit a series of storms.
The ship itself is fascinating, as is the artist who painted it. Solon Badger, born in Massachusetts in 1873, was a noted artist who specialized in ship portraits. He passed away in 1919. This painting is inscribed on the reverse with Charlestown, Mass., the location of Badger's studio. What truly sets this painting apart from many others by Badger is that it portrays a 5-masted ship, each mast bearing a flag. Including an American flag in a painting, whether of a ship or a city scene, significantly enhances its desirability. This piece is oil on canvas, with much of the rigging carefully rendered in pencil. One remarkable aspect of this painting is its condition, untouched. Although it has a small few dings, it is far better preserved in its original state than if it had been restored. The pigments used for the sails and rigging are quite delicate, so cleaning could risk removing them. The painting exudes a unique energy when preserved in its original condition and backed by such clear provenance.
This is catnip in the trade.
Oh.
It creates an energy when you have a painting.
The market for Badger's work has been somewhat erratic in recent years. In 2008, a 5-master by Badger was sold at auction for approximately $25,000. For insurance purposes, however, this painting would be valued at around.
I would insure this for closer to $35,000.
$35,000.
The piece of furniture brought in was inherited by the owner from her aunt. Stylistically, it would have been fashionable in England at the beginning of the 18th century, around 1720 to 1740. The style is known as Queen Anne, and this piece is a cross-banded burl walnut cabinet. It displays many features typical of English furniture from that era, such as a beautifully shaped pediment, mirrored doors, the choice of woods, and the candle slides, all indicative of the period.
I think she told me I couldn't afford it.
That you could, well, a good thing you inherited it. Stylistically, this would have been fashionable in England.
However, this piece is not actually from the 18th century, nor is it likely from the 19th. It was probably crafted in the early 20th century with the intention of deceiving. In other words, this is a replica, not as old as it appears to be. One way to identify its true age is by examining the physical evidence. If it were genuinely 300 years old, it would show much more wear and age-related distress, such as cracks and replaced veneers. Additionally, there are no repairs to the feet, and there is no shrinkage in the molding, both signs one would expect in an authentic 18th century piece. Looking at the back, the color varies from top to bottom, a clear sign of staining, which is often a trick used to make furniture appear older.
Of a piece of furniture, the same materials would have been used on the upper section.
In the 18th century, the same materials would have been used throughout the piece to speed up production, meaning the upper and lower sections would match in thickness and wood quality. However, on this piece, the thickness of the drawer fronts and the sides differ. The dovetails are inconsistent and the color varies. In keeping with English tradition, oak was used as a secondary wood. Other telltale signs include the batwing brass hardware, which is often associated with the early 18th century. However, these are not original, as evidenced by extra holes, suggesting previous hardware was used. In conclusion, while this cabinet was likely made in England in the English tradition, it is not from the period it emulates. If it were an authentic 18th century piece, It would likely be valued at $40,000 to $60,000 at auction. However, as a 20th century reproduction, it would likely be estimated at around.
It would be estimated at maybe $4,000 to $6,000.
I'll take it home and enjoy it now and won't worry about damage.
Taking it home is the perfect thing to do with it.
This guest brought a bracelet and a ring to the show, both of which were acquired from a family friend.
And when she passed, she left these two items to me in her will, and I remember admiring the ring because that was something that she would always wear when I'd see her Sunday night.
The bracelet is a classic 1940s piece, adorned with European-cut diamonds totaling 8 carats. Additionally, the bracelet features straight baguette-cut diamonds intricately basket-woven into the design, weighing a total of 10 carats. Crafted from platinum, the design indicates that it was made in the United States. Although there are no maker's marks on the bracelet, it remains highly valuable due to the quality of the stones. At auction, it is estimated to fetch.
I believe you'd have to put the bracelet at $35,000.
Wow.
We also have a ring on display, featuring a 15.4mm pearl at its center. The ring is beautifully set with pave diamonds on the sides, weighing a total of 6 carats and is also crafted in platinum. This ring dates back to the mid-20th century, and on the inside we find the maker's mark, Van Cleef & Arpels. Van Cleef & Arpels is a French luxury jewelry company that was founded in 1896. Their pieces often featured flowers, animals, and fairies. At auction, given the exceptional quality of this piece and the renown of its maker, it's estimated to be worth.
For insurance replacement, would probably be close to the $60,000.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
A flintlock rifle with distinct historical markings dates back to early American firearms manufacturing.
We have P&E W Blake. Do you know who that is?
No.
Nobody else did either.
Acquired in the early 1980s, this rifle proudly bears the name P&E W Blake, linking it to Eli Whitney's talented nephews. After Whitney died in 1825, the Blakes honored him by branding their rifles with their names. Although the Blake name was unfamiliar to most, Eli Whitney's reputation was widely recognized due to his invention of the cotton gin. Crafted in 1826, this firearm is one of about 15,000 rifles produced by the Blake nephews between 1826 and 1830. By 1830, they reverted to the Whitney name for brand recognition. Highlighting its historical significance, this piece retains matching dates on both the lock plate and barrel. Its original flintlock configuration, combined with a .69 caliber, further enhances its authenticity and appeal. In today's retail market, the rifle's estimated value is approximately
Just a fantastic old gun. This gun would probably bring about $2,500 on the retail market.
My brother will definitely take more of an interest in it.
With every indication, we can verify that this dress is from Chinese origin, and it is from the Chinese Qing dynasty. The Qing dynasty, also known as the Manchu dynasty, was China's last imperial dynasty, lasting from 1644 to 1912. This beautiful dress has a history of being gifted to the guest's aunt when she was in China by Princess Derling. The historical context surrounding this dress indicates that it is an informal court robe. This dress has 3 dragons depicted in the front, 5 on the back, which includes the 2 on the shoulders. In addition, there is also a secret dragon inside the flap of the robe, which makes 9 dragons on this dress in total.
I've never seen that. That is amazing.
Moreover, this Chinese dress is probably made for a Chinese prince.
Well, the Dowers had a son, and he was the prince, the heir of the throne. Because of the Boxer Rebellion, he never came to power.
However, the real owner of this dress is not known because there are many princes. Remarkably, this robe is in a very good condition, which adds to its value. In an auction, due to its historical significance, this beautiful robe would fetch an estimated price of
You are in the vicinity of about $15,000 to $25,000 at auction.
Gosh. Oh, gee, I better take good care of it then.
This guest presents a cherished family heirloom passed down through 2 generations. This photograph was given to the guest's grandfather to commemorate the christening of the Akron airship.
My grandfather was an executive at Goodyear. That's why he was given this, to commemorate that.
The USS Akron was a helium-filled airship built for the U.S. Navy, operating between September 1931 and April 1933. It was the world's first purpose-built flying aircraft carrier, capable of carrying F-9C Sparrowhawk fighter planes that could be launched and retrieved while airborne. At an impressive 785 feet, 239 meters long, the Akron and its sister ship, the Macon, were among the largest flying objects ever constructed and hold the record as the largest helium-filled airships. The guest grandfather, an executive at Goodyear, received this photograph as a commemorative gift at the airship's christening. This image was taken by Margaret Burke White, a pioneering American documentary and industrial photographer. Burke White was the first foreign photographer allowed to capture Soviet industry during the Soviets' initial 5-year plan, and was also the first American female war photojournalist.
One of the many strengths of Margaret Burke White was to take these large industrial objects and humanize them to create fine art.
Notably, she took the famous photograph of the Fort Peck Dam construction that appeared on the cover of Life magazine's first issue. The photograph of the USS Akron is in its original presentation frame. Made of duralumin, the material used in constructing the airship itself, which was built by Goodyear Zeppelin for the US Navy. These framed pictures were gifted to company employees, so the exact number of pieces in existence is uncertain. While this print has a few condition issues, its historical provenance maintains its value. If brought to auction, this iconic piece would likely sell for an estimated.
I would price this for auction at $4,000 to $6,000.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Paintings have been a vital part of human expression and culture for centuries, serving multiple purposes beyond mere aesthetics. Our guest inherited this painting from his father, who purchased it in the late 1940s. This painting was created by Gerard Curtis Delano. Gerard Curtis Delano was an American artist and illustrator, best known for his stunning paintings of Native American tribes and the American West.
Started off in New York City as an illustrator, and then came west for the first time. We moved to Colorado in 1919. Kind of fell in love with the West.
He studied art at the Art Institute of Chicago and later at the Académie Julian in Paris. This painting was created in Canyon de Chelly, a Navajo tribal trust land located in northeastern Arizona, USA. Interestingly, the size of the figure in this painting is the size of a quarter, which makes this piece an exceptional work. This painting also bears the artist's signature in the bottom right corner. Gerard Delano's paintings are highly valued and can fetch significant prices, reflecting the high demand and appreciation for his work.
There was one that sold a few years ago that sold for almost $1.5 million.
However, this particular painting in today's auction market is expected to command a price of.
Would probably sell for between $40,000 and $60,000.
Yes. All right, thank you.
When this guest was 7 years old, his mother bought him a birthday gift from an antique store, which is the antique spoon on display today. Judging by the craftsmanship of this spoon, we can tell it is over a century old and originated from one of the Canadian Indigenous tribes, the Athabascan. The spoon was crafted from a mountain sheep's horn and has suffered some wear over time, though this does not significantly affect its value.
You can tell when you turn it over, you can see how it's got these ridges go around it, and that's the ridges of the horn where they polished it off.
In an auction setting, a tribal spoon from North America like this would sell for
easily $800 to $1,000.
Wow.
Another item brought along by our guest is a wooden doll he purchased from a seller many years ago. Although the origin of this doll is unknown, it has several interesting features that make it valuable. The doll's boots have intricate embroidery and are made from dyed seal gut. Interestingly, the doll's boots can be removed, revealing the carved wooden leg, which is pinned together. Not many dolls of this type have been seen on the show, making this piece a rare find. Considering the rarity of this doll and the intricacy of its boot design, this doll is estimated to be worth
$2,000 to $3,000.
Oh my God. Wow.
So, pretty good buy.
That's incredible.
Drawing is the art of creating images or designs using various tools and techniques, and people are always appreciative of it. Here we have a drawing and a letter that accompanied it, both belonging to the mother-in-law of our guest.
It was in my mother's bureau drawer for approximately 30 years.
This drawing and letter are from the popular artist Tom Wesselman. Tom Wesselman was an American artist associated with the pop art movement, known for his work in painting, collage, and sculpture.
Tom Wesselman did a great deal of his work in New York.
This drawing was an original work for his future piece, Still Life 61. Interestingly, this artwork has been framed, providing a physical barrier against damage, dust, and UV light, all of which can cause art to deteriorate. The letter written by Tom was intended to enlighten her about the essence of the artwork he sent, which was an original of his future work. A still life study such as this is an artistic exploration of inanimate objects, such as fruit, vegetables, household items, and many more. This work is executed in pencil and colored pencil on paper, a wonderful combination for creating art. It is also inscribed, signed, and dated along the bottom edge of the drawing.
For Esther, Tom Wesselman, 75.
Due to the combination of the letter and the original drawing, this collection is expected to fetch a price of.
I think at auction right now, you're realistically looking at $25,000 to $35,000.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
This piece is one of the most unusual items to film for the Roadshow.
It was with some other fabric on a rolled tube.
What we have here is a remarkable weaving that was purchased at an estate sale, showcasing the unique artistry of its creator. The artist behind this piece is Peter Collingwood, a notable figure in the world of textile art. Born in London in 1922, Collingwood was initially destined for a career in medicine, but he ultimately found his passion in weaving after studying under the renowned weaver Ethel Myritt.
And then create scarves for the officers' wives. But also when he was there, he was given a gift of a Bedouin tent hanging.
This particular piece dates back to the 1960s, a time when Collingwood began creating a series of works that pushed the boundaries of traditional weaving techniques. These works are known as macro gauze, a term that refers to a distinctive style of weaving characterized by its intricate patterns and textures. Described as a mixed media weaving, this piece incorporates various materials, highlighting Collingwood's innovative approach to his craft. Due to its unique design and the artist's reputable background, this piece carries significant provenance. Collingwood's work continues to inspire and resonate within the textile art community, making this piece a noteworthy addition to any collection. In an auction setting reflecting its artistic value and rarity, it would likely fetch a conservative price of
Fetch between $5,000 and $8,000.
I would like to hear that again. Really.
Oil painting is a technique that involves painting with pigments mixed with a medium of drying oil as a binder. What we have here is an oil-on-canvas painting by André Salvant. Magnificently, this painting is marked lower right on the checkered floor. Furthermore, this painting portrays the death of King Henry IV. William IV was King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland from the 26th of June 1830 until his death in 1837.
Who was known as the Good King, or Henry the Great. He was a celebrated figure in French history.
Also, this painting depicts him on his deathbed after a final assassination attempt, which was successful. In addition, this painting is done in the style of neoclassicism. Commonly, neoclassicism began in the late 18th century and lasted until about 1830. Furthermore, neoclassicism was supplanted by romanticism. Also, there are a lot of emotions being depicted in this painting. Typically, what subjects this painting to neoclassicism is its limited palette. Additionally, there are also strong horizontals and verticals, and the subject matter is historical.
Artist lived from 1842 to 1883. We don't know exactly when it was painted, but sometime during that period, probably after 1850.
Given the size of this painting and its provenance, in an auction, it would be valued at a substantial price of $40,000.
I would easily put an auction estimate on this painting of $20,000 to $30,000.
Wow.
Discoidal or chunky stones date back thousands of years, with various cultures using them in jewelry and decorative objects. The mother of our guest picked up this piece from a trash pile. The chunky stone was used for the chunky game in Mississippian culture, dating back to 1000 to 1500 AD. This game was often played in ceremonial centers and public spaces, as it was a popular pastime among people of all ages. The chunky game involves players taking turns to roll or toss chunky stones, aiming to get them as close as possible to a target. Interestingly, there are other discoidals that can be described as typical Tennessee discoidals, as they have distinct features. This discoidal is different from a typical Tennessee piece because it features a hole instead of a dimple. Furthermore, these discoidals are made in different sizes, with larger ones being more significant. This piece was made using both stone and wood instruments to grind it into form. Due to the significance of this discoidal, it will command a value of...
At auction, on a bad day, I would expect this to go for $3,000 to $5,000. Wow. Yeah.
On June 12, 1939, at the Hall of Fame opening in Cooperstown, his grandfather hid in the bathroom and later emerged to collect autographs from baseball legends. In 1939, baseball's centennial celebration marked 100 years since the mythic founding by Abner Doubleday. The portrait showcased legends like Cy Young, Christy Mathewson, Babe Ruth, and Lou Gehrig. The autographs included Babe Ruth, Walter Johnson, Honus Wagner, Cy Young, Connie Mack, Larry LeJoie, and Tris Speaker. The left side of the program features Hall of Fame immortals before 1900 and Hall of Fame immortals of modern baseball, highlighting legends from both eras.
It's a large program, and you had some other signers. Really strong autographs. It's a delicate piece. There's Asian-induced wear and toning, the kind of thing you'd expect.
A black and white photo captures the 1939 inductees, featuring legendary players gathered for this historic occasion. This program celebrates baseball's growth as a cultural institution and its role in American society. Its rich history prompted the appraiser to assign a high value to the item.
We think an auction estimate appropriately is at $10,000 to $20,000.
Right.
Okay?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, Granddad, this was his crown jewel. He knew he had something special.
The guest brought an unbound volume of Edward Curtis's photographs, which he had owned for 40 years. The volume contained images Curtis took in the 1920s when he traveled along the western Alaskan coast, visiting locations such as Nunivak Island, King Island, Kotzebue, Selawik, and Noatak. The photographs in the volume were of people and places familiar to the guest. Remarkably, one image in the collection included the guest's adoptive mother, known as Priscilla Hensley. Another photograph, titled Chikiktagruck, meaning small island, depicted the area where the guest was born. The photographs in Curtis's volume were described as authentic, with minimal posing or manipulation of the environment. The appraiser mentioned that although Curtis's work sometimes involved staging, these particular photos depicted real scenes and people. They discussed the market value of Curtis's work, emphasizing that the price depended on the image's prominence, subject, and size. Given the good condition, the auction value of this particular volume was estimated to be
probably expecting to see it go for around $10,000 at auction if everything is in really good condition.
At a humble house sale, a treasure was uncovered. Exquisite Yoruba Ibeji twin figurines from Nigeria. Our guest purchased this item decades ago, yet its true value and significance remained hidden.
Did you pay for them?
About $25.
Okay.
Originating from the Yoruba tribe, Ibeji honors the unique bond of twins and sibling connection. Crafted in the late 19th century, these figures held deep spiritual significance. Tradition says that when one twin passes, Ibeji figurines provide a sacred vessel for their soul, embodying ancestral reverence and spiritual connection. The heritage of Nigeria shines through these intricate carvings, capturing cultural and historical significance. The Yoruba community treasures twinship, reflecting the strength of family and community ties. These figurines remain in perfect condition, with no damage to their intricate carvings. At auction, these Yoruba Ibeji figurines would be valued at,
in today's market, $800 to $1,200.
Very nice.
For $25, that's not a bad investment.
I'll take it.
Surviving the turbulence of World War II, this incredible watch now graces us with its presence. According to the guest, her grandfather came into possession of this remarkable watch likely around 1944 or 1945.
He was stationed in some of the islands in outer Japan, and he somehow acquired this and mailed it back to his wife, my grandma Janet, in Chicago.
The watch is of Japanese origin, with striking Japanese characters engraved on the back as a testament to its heritage.
The maker of this is Seiko Shop. This was a very well-made timepiece.
Designed as a World War II Japanese pilot's watch, the symbols on the back confirm its Navy affiliation. Japanese Navy pilots were revered as the elite of the military, known for their exceptional skill and unwavering discipline. They were extensively trained in the art of aerial combat, with many becoming household names for their daring missions and bravery. Highly respected within Japan, they were considered superior to their army counterparts, with their status cemented by the crucial roles they played in naval warfare during World War II. While pilot watches are being recreated, the current trend is leaning toward larger models, adding a fashionable element to their appeal. This piece is exceptionally rare, standing amongst the rarest of World War II pilot watches.
Because Japanese naval aviators, their standards of training were very, very strict coming into World War II, so there weren't as many of them at the start of the war.
With its current condition, this watch would have an estimated retail value of
between $8,000 and $10,000.
I love it. My grandpa was an incredible man, and I'm lucky he was my grandfather.
If you're wondering what to give your daughter for her wedding, this rug could make all the difference. This is because it's an oriental rug crafted by the Central Asian Turkmen. More specifically, a subgroup of Turkmen called the Sarik were responsible for creating these pieces.
They were nomadic people. Their primary occupation was raising sheep, and they would chase pasture land across Central Asia.
The first distinct feature of the rug is its unique patterns, which show that it's foreign. What's more interesting is that for centuries, their weavings have remained unchanged. Despite changes over time, these pieces serve as great examples of longevity. This particular rug dates back to between 1860 and 1880 based on its appearance.
The Sarik use this is called a gul, which is really just Turkic for flower. So it's a stylized flower motif.
Its authenticity is further confirmed by the silk from which it was woven.
One of the other really interesting things about this piece in particular is all of the magenta color is all woven in silk.
As mentioned earlier, the piece was made to be used during marriages as a dowry. These rugs, or chuvals, are also special because they showcase a rich cultural heritage. Thus, if this Turkmen Chuval rug were to be auctioned, one could expect a value of
in the $5,000 to $7,000 range retail.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
One unique aspect of chefs is their love for culinary collectibles, which brings them great joy. This is exemplified by these seltzer bottles, purchased by the popular chef Carla Hall.
So these seltzer bottles were bought at a flea market.
Carla Hall is a beloved figure in the culinary and television world, celebrated for her expertise and infectious enthusiasm. The collectibles also include an ice cream scoop that belonged to her grandmother.
When I looked at it, I was thinking, oh my gosh, look at the hardware on this thing. It's nothing like the ice cream scoop.
These seltzers, known as soda siphons or carbonators, are devices that dispense carbonated water, typically used for making seltzer water or soda. They evoke memories of soda fountains, often a counter inside another store.
That you would go to get a fresh, fizzy drink.
This trend is first believed to have emerged between the 1850s and the 1950s. The bottle in the middle features a label with a Star of David, signifying Jewish heritage. Meanwhile, the ice cream scoop was invented in 1897 by Alfred Crail. Alfred L. Crail was an American businessman and inventor who patented ice cream mold and disher, which was an ice cream scoop with a built-in scraper to allow for one-handed operation. He developed this invention after noticing that soda jerks had trouble separating ice cream from the spoons they were using. This particular ice cream scoop was manufactured by the Benedict Manufacturing Group. This amazing ice cream scoop is expected to command a value of
Anywhere from $15 to $25 or $30. They don't bring a lot of money.
Meanwhile, the high-quality seltzer bottles are projected to attract a price of
Anywhere from $40 up to $120 or so per bottle.
a haunting figure with a storied past. This fisherman trade sign reveals the artistry and history of late 19th century commerce. The guest shared the story of a captivating fisherman figure discovered in a home once owned by his great-grandfather. This late 19th century trade sign originated from Alpena, Michigan.
What we have here is a late 19th century trade sign. It is a sign that is beckoning a profession where one would go in and buy fishing supplies for the profession.
As a child, the guest found the figure unnerving, with its piercing red eyes lurking in the dark corner of the basement. The piece, carved from white pine, was favored for its softness and paint-holding qualities. Crafted from a 2-foot log, it features a historic nameplate inscribed with T for Theodore Krongeyer, a known figure who created various trade signs in Detroit. This fisherman figure would have hung outside a shop, serving as a visual cue for illiterate immigrants in the late 1800s. An etched inscription on the side reads "Fisherman," added later, while the back displays a fascinating, weathered surface, likely affected by heat from the nearby coal bin. While estimating the item's worth, the appraiser said,
So we're going to put a retail valuation today of $3,000 to $5,000.
I'm amazed.
The appraiser emphasized its uniqueness and desirability, surprising the guest with its significant worth. Take a look at this incredible piece of history, a signed letter to Abraham Lincoln and a response from Lincoln himself. These letters, dating back to 1864, have been in the family since the guest's parents bought them in the early 1970s. Originally, the letter was written to Lincoln by William C. Thomas, a customs agent from Philadelphia, seeking a recommendation to help someone secure a job. Thomas had a direct connection to Lincoln, as he was appointed by the president himself to be the first Republican customs agent in Philadelphia, a prestigious post at the time. The guest remembers these letters well, recalling that they were an item of contention when her parents divorced, with her father ultimately taking ownership. After both parents passed away, this was the first item she wanted to reclaim. The letter contains many fascinating details. It's addressed to Salmon Chase, then Secretary of the Treasury, yet somehow reached Lincoln's desk. Lincoln's response was handwritten directly on Thomas's letterhead, showcasing his characteristic erratic handwriting. The authenticity is confirmed by both the ink scratches from the nib pen and a historical reference known as the Lincoln Log, which details Lincoln's whereabouts throughout his life. Records confirm that Lincoln was indeed in Washington, D.C. on the date of the letter, July 29, 1864, where he penned only 2 other letters that day. Having been professionally examined, it's suggested that the guest reframed the letters using archival methods to preserve them further. It's even possible to frame them with glass on both sides to view any additional details or notes on the reverse side. With such historical significance, this rare set is estimated to fetch.
At auction, I would say that your letter, I would estimate it at $8,000 to $10,000.
This guest brought in a Bennington pottery lion, curated in 1850. It has been in the family of the guest since the time of his great-grandfather. Underneath the pottery is the Mark, Fenton, Lyman & Company, who were actually makers of pottery in 1849 in Bennington. They made lead-glazed animal pottery. On the pottery is clay-induced technique, known as technique coleslaw. It was in high demand in the 1920s and was made from Paris, which means it has another pair. This pottery lion is valued at $4,000 to $8,000.
I would expect it to sell in the range of $4,000 to $6,000, conservatively.
Is this dusty BMW 323i, tucked away in a Norfolk barn, the hidden gem that defined BMW's legendary 3 Series lineup? In a Norfolk barn, Drew and Paul stumbled upon a dusty gem, a BMW 323i. Drew immediately sees its potential, but there's some debate. While Paul is hesitant, thinking a faux alpina recreation might not hold value, they both agree. Sealing the deal is crucial. Fair price later, the car is theirs, and Drew believes it could be worth 15 grand with the right work.
The problem is with these sort of jobs, where do you stop? I know. You know, because, there'll be a bit on the door, and I bet there's a bit here.
Back at their base, Paul and Michael inspect the paintwork. They initially hope to avoid a full respray, but as the dust washes away, it's clear more work is needed. Paul's initial estimate of a few £100 each for touch-ups quickly escalates.
I'm going to be 3.5 grand to make it really nice.
Despite the setback, Drew sees an opportunity. He suggests a sleek black paint job, believing it will transform the car into a mean machine. The bumper is sent for re-chroming, a meticulous process involving layers of copper, nickel, and chrome. After careful inspection by Sean, the bumper is restored to its former glory. Inside, the car's original horsehair seats present a challenge. Rick, skilled in working with such rare materials, begins the delicate restoration. The cost for the interior work, around £1,200. As the car nears completion, Drew and Paul reflect on the transformation. The car's original features are preserved, but the tasteful modifications elevated. Finally, they admire the engine, a hallmark of BMW's engineering. The 323i represents the beginning of an era for BMW, and now, thanks to their efforts, it's ready to continue that legacy. The guest brought a baseball player's companion of 1859. Her husband paid for a storage locker, and there were a lot of bucks there. The storage locker got damaged, but the buck survived. The buck is considered by historians and baseball enthusiasts as the most important and oldest baseball buck. The buck was carried by players in their pocket while playing in that era. The buck gives details about the rules and regulations of baseball. It also describes the different rules by different cities that play the sport. An example is the New York rules that help it become the epic center of baseball in the 1950s. At auction, despite the water damage, the buck is estimated to be worth an estimated $4,000 to $6,000.
I would place an auction estimate probably in the $4,000 to $6,000 range.
Chairs not only serve a purpose, but also tell stories of design and history. Drew heads out on a buying trip to a beautiful mansion in Modbury, Devon. The house, called Shilston, was originally just a facade, but the owners Sebastian and Lucy rebuilt it completely. They love antiques and are selling some items as their house is almost finished. Drew and his team are amazed by the mansion's design, which perfectly blends old and new elements. As they explore, Drew finds a few interesting pieces of furniture. He sees an oak side table and a set of 24 dining chairs that look really nice. These chairs are reproductions from the 19th century, styled after George Hepplewhite. However, the price is high, so Drew is cautious. He also finds a beautiful piece of 17th century embroidery, even though textiles aren't his usual focus. The embroidery's quality impresses him, and he buys it for £500.
No, let's say £500. You were kind enough to come here?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Great.
Marvellous, thank you.
Later, Drew comes across furniture made by Robert Thompson, known as Mouseman because of the small mouse carvings on each piece. Drew buys a few items for £800.
I think we're on 800.
800 sold. I'll take
Hooray.
them. There you go.
Knowing they need some restoration but are still valuable. In another part of the estate, Drew finds a very old, broken armchair. Despite its poor condition, he sees that it was well made and decides to buy it for just £50.
Yeah, 50 quid, I'll have it.
Done. Well done.
That is, I think, that's the worst chair I've ever bought.
Drew's visit shows his ability to spot quality and potential value, even in items that seem unremarkable at first. A classic 1965 Sunbeam Alpine gets a fresh makeover, turning a simple car flip into a dream come true. Paul convinced Drew to buy a 1965 Sunbeam Alpine, a classic car with undeniable charm. The engine sounded great, and Drew saw potential in restoring its glamorous look. After negotiating, they bought the car.
That's where I'm happy, and that would be enough of a discount to make it worth. Yeah? Marvellous.
Okay.
Thank you very much, mate. Marvellous. All yours.
Drew believed that with an additional couple of grand, it could be sold for a profit. They started by painting the hardtop black and installing new Perspex windows. However, the dashboard and steering wheel needed attention. Drew took the car to Chapman and Cliff, where Rob and Phil, expert craftsmen, restored them. Rob and Phil had a wide selection of veneers to choose from, and they found the perfect one with a striking pattern. They meticulously restored the steering wheel and applied the new veneer to the dashboard, ensuring every detail was perfect. The total cost of the restoration came to £510, which Drew considered money well spent. Paul arranged a reveal in the Peak District, where Drew admired the car's transformation. The small changes they made significantly improved its overall look. They estimated the car could sell for £13,995. A buyer named Ben, who lived British Roadsters, was impressed and offered £13,250. They settled at a fair price, and Ben was ecstatic with his purchase.
Why don't we say 13.5? Then we've both had a bit then, haven't we?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Drew and Paul were pleased with the profitable outcome. Drew explores a historic library, striking deals on rare antiques. As Drew enters the library, he mentions the need to be quiet, but the librarian jokes that silence isn't a big deal here, especially with him around. The librarian proudly shows off the place, pointing out a dome as a tribute to the building's beauty. They move on to the reading room, a lovely space filled with old tables and chairs, many of which are original. Drew, who loves chairs, is impressed by the design and history of the pieces. Next, they discover 2 Georgian screens, and the librarian mentions they could sell for around £800 each because of their quality and simple design. They negotiated and could not agree on the screens.
Where do you want to be? 500, I think, is where you want to be, isn't it?
I can make it 550.
No, that's a definite no.
The group then heads up to the attic, referred to as the Gods, where they find a wrought iron and copper stick stand with lion paw feet.
This English wrought iron and copper stick stand with splayed lion paw base was made in the early 19th century.
They also find an oak library lectern with a sliding mechanism, estimated at £300. Drew isn't too excited about the lectern due to a previous repair, but agrees to take it if the price is right. After some discussion, they settle on a price for all 3 items.
I'll come up a little bit more then, 850.
All right, okay.
Yeah?
850 then.
850 for the 3.
Okay.
Drew ends the visit with a joke, saying he now knows what to get the librarian for Christmas since he seems to like pointing sticks so much. The guest brought America's Great Fires lithograph, believed to be made in 1905. She got it from her mother, which has passed down from the family. It was originally gold-colored, but it was stove-blackened the frame. The center fire in the picture is from Baltimore. Only one of such prints have been seen by the appraiser in 30 years. It includes the number of people who died and the dollar amount that was lost. It also features the San Francisco fire of 1857 and other details. The value is estimated at $1,200 to $1,500.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,200 to $1,500, about $1,200 to $1,500.
Drew and Rob trade antiques with friendly banter. Drew meets Rob, who greets him warmly and shows off his beard. Rob invites Drew to explore antiques, including a campaign chest and cannon. Drew praises Rob as a true trader, always rotating items for profit. Rob and Drew share a mutual interest in Welsh hats, with Drew noting that these hats often come from Rob's area. They discuss the value of the hats, with Rob mentioning that he owns a rare Aberystwyth one. Drew is intrigued but passes on the Welsh hat, despite its rising demand and scarcity. As they continue through the shop, Drew spots a rare 18th century garden gate in the Chinese Chippendale style. Despite its poor condition, Drew sees potential in restoring it. Rob offers a price, and Drew quickly agrees, planning to scrape back the paint to reveal the original finish.
I don't think you can make a fortune. I'd like to pay 3 for it, Rob. Yeah, it won't be a massive profit, but it's just nice to own. Yeah, go on, I bought one the other day. You can have it for 3.
The pair then discusses a set of kudu horns mounted on red velvet, which Drew finds particularly appealing. After some negotiation, they settle on a price.
What do you want for that ratty old gate, then, that nobody wants, that you couldn't be bothered putting in the shop?
$250.
Can you hold that for a second, Al?
Drew sees them as a perfect fit for the decorative market, rather than for hunting collectors. Later, they come across a large dairy bowl, which Drew buys for £100, outbidding Rob in the process. Drew reflects on how hesitation cost him an extra £30, but he doesn't begrudge Rob the profit. They both enjoy the competitive banter that comes with trading. They find a damaged oil painting that Rob offers to Drew for £20, which Drew accepts. They end their visit with a cup of tea. The guest brought a Black Forest carved shoe from Inkwell. Her father brought it back from World War II when he was stationed in France. The shoe is in good shape and the details are accurate. Stitches from the shoe show it is of walnuts and full of it. It was carved from the Black Forest region of Europe. It is an inkwell and was most likely made from a pewter. At auction, the shoe is estimated at $700 to $800.
We would
probably estimate it in the $700 to $900 range.
At a sprawling 30,000 square foot Irish treasure trove, visitors are instantly captivated by the stunning array of antique gems. Among the treasures, a pair of oak luggage stands priced at €575 steal the spotlight.
What could they be? $575 a pair?
As they continue to explore, an English mahogany open armchair with a striking side profile catches their eye.
The ends extend over and they've got this sort of country cut to the end, you know, this sort of rounded cut which looks a bit country.
This shop is a haven of rare finds, with pieces you wouldn't encounter anywhere else. A pair of benches grabs one visitor's attention, who is thoroughly impressed by their original design. But it's an ancient elk skull that truly obsesses him. Mesmerized by its perfect color and massive size, he offers £3,000 on the spot.
£4,000. Thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome.
I've always wanted one of these things.
Although valued at £6,500, he clinches the deal for £4,000, thrilled with his bargain. His next adventure leads him to a family-owned 18th century Georgian mansion. He discovers a chinoiserie chest adorned with intricate designs. He makes an offer of €4,000 and secures the chest, knowing it could be worth around £1,500 after restoration. In the mansion's engine room, he finds a pair of intricately carved wood reindeer skulls and strikes a deal. He is eager to bring them back to life with a careful restoration. The guest brought the Whirly Gig of Life from 1875. It belonged to her great-grandfather, and from there it was passed on in her family. It was one of the great optical toys of the 19th century. It is a pre-cinema toy. You stare at the toy while it keeps moving, very remarkable for children to play with in that era. It still works well despite being over 125 years old. At auction, the Whirly Gig of Life is estimated at $2,000 to $3,000.
I think in today's market, we're probably looking at between $2,000 and $3,000.
Drew visits a house in Halesworth to hunt for unique antiques. The moment Drew arrives, a massive dragon statue on the rooftop wows him. Inside, he's even more intrigued by a huge tree growing right in the middle of the house. The owner says it was inspired by an artist's vision from St. Petersburg. Everything in the house has an Indian vibe. Each item is different, each one unique. Drew loves all of them.
It's really comfortable. Then you've got lots and lots of this Indian bits and bobs here. There's a real mix of stuff. The majority's Indian, isn't it?
Next up, the barn surprises him with its massive stockpile.
Chinese cabinet we brought back from Malaysia, and there's some Balinese pieces.
Amazing.
A pair of Balinese dancing statues catches his eye. £125 sold.
Because of what they are, but they're very decorative nonetheless.
125?
Okay, that's not out of the way, is it?
Then a Ganesh statue sparks his interest. He buys 2 pairs for £500.
What I'm thinking is, can we do 500 for those for the 4?
So what did I say? That was
250.
250. Okay, go on then.
Yeah.
The hand-carved, hand-painted details are irresistible. Finally, Drew spots a one-of-a-kind hand-painted cupboard. He wants a pair, but there's only one. He offers £80, ready to restore it to perfection. The guest brought in a Rolex Double Red. Rolex is a household luxury watch brand. The brother who was working in Dubai in the 1970s gave it to him. It is a Rolex 1665 called a Golden Double Red Sea-Dweller Submariner. The Rolex is highly sought after by collectors. It is inspired by oil rigging and the depth of the oil fields in the Middle East and built with ilium for protection of the watch. The watch has all the original strap and build-up. The original date the watch was made is on the strap. The Rolex is valued at £35,000 or more.
Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.
Lovely,
indeed.
lovely.
Thank you. Lovely.
Absolute joy for me to see it.
Thank you very much.
Have you ever encountered a stunning piece that stops you in your tracks? At Villa Montesoli, such a piece awaits, a magnificent fruitwood shop counter, likely crafted in the late 19th century. Heading 70 miles south of Florence to the town of Siena, Drew embarks on a journey to Villa Montesoli, an exquisite 500-year-old house surrounded by ancient vineyards and olive groves.
And they have this incredible house. You know when people say villa in the Tuscan hills?
This villa is home to Giovanna and Max, a couple deeply rooted in the antique trade, inheriting a family business rich in history.
You like?
Yeah. It's pretty wonderful. Fabulous light in here.
Among the treasures in Villa Montesoli, Drew finds fruitwood shop counter from the late 19th century, likely crafted during Florence's era as the capital of Italy. The counter is in highly original condition and also features a decorative front and a practical back. Due to its rarity,
she was buying this stuff 30, 40 years ago, and some of it's still here.
However, securing it requires the approval of Giovanna's mother, Mama, the true authority behind the collection. After negotiations, the price is set at €1,500, down from Mama's initial €2,000. The visit continues with the discovery of a dining table featuring a beautifully turned base. Drew purchases it for €1,000.
1,000. 1,000. Sold.
Moving forward, in the garden, a pair of aged cast iron tables with marble tops catches Drew's eye.
These are Mama's.
Sì.
Yes.
Can we call Mama?
You want to know the price?
Sì, e non so se lo vende.
After further negotiations with Mama, these exceptional tables are acquired for €2,300. The day at Villa Montesoli is more than just a buying trip. It's a journey through history, art, and the personal stories that make these antiques unique. The guest brought the picture, 2 caps and medals of a local hero. Joseph Eric Stevenson is a legend in the 1930s who played for Leeds. He was the great-grandfather of the guest and lived locally in Leeds. Joseph also had an active military career when World War II broke out and died in action in 1944. The family has no intention of selling the picture and the medals.
The medals, these don't have a great value, probably looking sort of 80 to 120, these medals.
Yeah. The 2 England caps are worth £1,200 to £1,500.
Being conservative, we're talking about £1,200 to £1,500.
Nev's skilled craftsmanship breathes new life into century-old street lamp tops, turning them into valuable, unique treasures. Nev is crafting new bases with ornate ironwork to match the original design. Using a fly press, he shapes the first decorative leaf for the lamp. The process is complex, requiring precision to ensure symmetry and flow. Nev thins the metal using a half-round hot chisel, hammering it to form a tightly curled leaf tip. Then he continues shaping the leaf, widening it while maintaining its form. Grooves are added to mimic the original leaf design, a nod to traditional craftsmanship.
So Nev can force the metal outwards to widen the leaf, rather than spread in all directions.
Hammer marks are intentionally left to showcase the handmade quality, reflecting methods from 200 years ago. Nev carefully reproduces stylized leaf ends with a round-tipped hammer.
The grooves, the veins that are in there, but now it's for the ball end.
He plans to create 16 leaves in total for the street lamp design. Nev also constructs new lamp holders from sheep steel, cut and shaped into cones. Every step is performed using traditional metalworking techniques. The restored lamps are painted in a From-approved color, thanks to Rebecca's research. Drew, the client, is impressed with the result, noting the lamp's transformation. Originally bought for £300, the restored pair now has an estimated value exceeding £3,000. Drew appreciates Nev's craftsmanship, likening the lamps to pieces from a baronial hall and crafts palace. He believes Nev's work elevates the lamp's value and uniqueness. The woman brought an ingenious mechanical chess set. It belonged to her grandfather, who played with it after the Second World War. There are unique knots and bolts. The pieces look like they were crafted by artists, and the carrying box is impressive. It has legs to make it a low-level table. The chess set is accompanied by the military medal of the guest's grandfather, who made the chess set. At auction, the chess set is valued at £500.
With that connection with the flying boats, I think someone will give £500 for that.
Tables are functional furniture that hold a special place in our lives. Drew, an antique dealer, visited the Royal Welsh Showground in Builth Wells, a large international antiques fair. He travelled from North Wales to Mid Wales, excited to find unique items. The fair had many sellers, and Drew was ready to buy the best pieces. He enjoys buying quality antiques, especially ones with interesting details. He found a pastry table that needed some work, but its iron handle made it special. He bought it for £250, hoping it could be worth £450 after repairs.
So what are you asking for that, man?
For the table, $250 to you.
Thank you very much, I'll have that.
Next, he found 4 bamboo-style mirrors from the 1930s and bought them for £280. He believes they could be worth £1,000.
And as a set of 4, could be worth around £1,000.
He also bought a Gothic-style chandelier for £130, knowing it could be worth £500 after restoration. Drew couldn't resist buying a quirky iron sculpture of a left breast for £40, even though he wasn't sure what to do with it. He also purchased an adjustable factory stool for £150, appreciating its design.
I can give you one bid, £150, that's it. I can't bid more. You don't have to sell it to me.
I'll take the money.
You sure?
I'll take the money, yep.
Marvellous, thank you. You're on me.
Finally, he found a glass coffee table from the 1970s or 80s and bought it for £75. Drew felt happy with his finds, knowing they were all interesting and valuable. The day was productive, and he enjoyed finding so many great items in one place. His van was full, and he looked forward to selling his new treasures. This 18th century religious sermon book is a priceless find.
This book was handed down to me from a family member. I've had it in my possession about 20 years.
It was printed in Philadelphia in 1731. It was printed by famous printer Benjamin Franklin. This book is very rare and has traveled through centuries. It is in a typical calf binding of its era. While other books show browned and brittle pages, this one is still in good condition. Its value at an auction can be between $12,000 to $18,000.
And I would put a value on this of $3,000 to $4,000.
A secret door opens to a barber's hidden world of antique treasures. Dominic Oliveri's new antique shop in Chipping Norton showcases his cherished 16th and 17th century furniture. Drew and T visit Dominic Oliveri's antique shop, tucked behind his family barbershop in Chipping Norton. Dominic has been in the antiques business for over 30 years. His passion lies in 16th and 17th century oak furniture. The shop is accessed through a secret door that transports them to a different era. Drew is immediately impressed by the space, likening it to stepping into Narnia. As they explore, Drew spots a damaged vase on a sculpture stand. The simple yet timeless design appeals to him. He negotiates the price down.
£40.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For the small battered urn with the beautiful colouring. Despite its condition, Drew decides to purchase it after negotiation. Next, he discovers a charming oil painting of a young girl. The painting is early 19th century with its original frame. Originally valued at £580, Drew buys it for less.
And that's what I think it's worth, maybe £580. It's really charming. Right, so I think we'll gather up our belongings.
Yes.
Drew admires Dominic's unique approach to the antiques business. Drew leaves the shop satisfied with his purchases. He appreciates the memorable experience and looks forward to returning. The guest brought a 1932 Percy Gray watercolor, which she inherited from her father. Percy Gray is a painter from San Francisco who loved painting the beautiful California landscapes. This painting is one of the largest of his works. The watercolor painting is 30 inches and about 22 wide, with color blue in the water painting and signed by Percy Gray. The watercolor painting is valued at $25,000 to $35,000 or more.
Probably put an auction estimate of $25,000 to $35,000 on it.
Oh my. Oh.